I mean, the first thing that investors want to ask you is sort of, well, tell us about prior successes in this field.
When you're trying to become successful, you're going to go through insanely high highs and insanely low lows. There's no telling when they'll happen or how they'll happen. It's all just going to happen, and it's going to be an absolute roller coaster of a journey in which you're going to call life. So many people are going to question you. So many people are going to doubt you and look you dead in the eye and say whatever you're trying to achieve is absolutely stupid and an absolute waste of your time. They're not going to understand why you're doing it because they've never been put in that situation where they truly want something so bad. They're going to put everything on the line and they're going to focus on that for a long time. They're going to put tons of energy and tons of effort because those are your dreams. You thought about them for years upon years and you've always wanted to go after them. And there's no better time than now. That's the hardest thing to do, is just start. So you might as well start as soon as possible. Don't say I'm going to start next week or next month or when you're financially stable or when you have enough this, that, or the other. You need to make sure that you are able to start right now. Figure out whatever it is you have to do, whether that means just writing it down on a piece of paper. You want to get started as early as possible because that way you'll have enough time to reap the benefits of becoming successful. So many people try to become successful late in their life and then it's nice, but they don't get to reap all the benefits. And you want to start that as soon as possible because it's better to work now and relax later than it is to relax now and work later.
So when you're fighting for the good outcome and it's an uphill battle, it's just slower. If we don't improve our pace of progress, I'm definitely, going to be dead before we go to Mars. If it's taken us 18 years just to get ready to do the first people to orbit, we better improve our rate of innovation, or based on past trends, I am definitely going to be dead before Mars. So we've got to improve our pace of innovation a lot. To the point of the question that was just asked, I want to make sure Tesla recruiting does not have anything that says requires university, because that's absurd. But there is a requirement of evidence of exceptional ability. Like, you just can't, if you're trying to do something exceptional, they must have evidence of exceptional ability. I don't consider going to college evidence of exceptional ability. In fact, ideally, you dropped out and did something. I mean, obviously, we look at Gates is a pretty smart guy, he dropped out. Jobs, pretty smart, he dropped out. Larry Ellison, smart guy, he dropped out. Obviously not needed. Everything is available basically for free. You can learn anything you want for free. It is not a question of learning.
I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing. And it's kind of mentally easier to reason by analogy rather than from first principles. But by first principles is kind of a physics way of looking at the world. And what that really means is you kind of boil things down to the most fundamental truths and say, okay, what are we sure is true, or as sure as possible is true, and then reason up from there. That takes a lot more mental energy. Somebody could say, in fact people do, that battery packs are really expensive and that's just the way they'll always be, because that's the way they've been in the past.
I think I think we'll just end up doing a universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like, a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, what's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with. And then how do we ensure that the future is going to be the future that we want, that we still like? No, I mean, I do think that there's a potential path here, which is, and we're really getting into science fiction or advanced science stuff, but having some sort of merger with biological intelligence and machine intelligence. To some degree, we are already a cyborg. You think of the digital tools that you have, your phone, your computer, the applications that you have, like the fact that, as I was mentioning earlier, you can ask a question and instantly get an answer from Google or from other things.
First of all, I really need to give some thought to how can I provide advice that would be most helpful, and I'm not sure I've given enough thought to that to give you the best possible answer. But I think certainly being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell you. Can you tell the difference between those two things? So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. I think certainly extremely tenacious, and then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100 hour weeks every week. All those things improve the odds of success. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that in 1 year you will achieve what they achieve.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let us know what you thought about the comment section down below.